An interesting week, a week after the Mother's Day. I hope you celebrated your mothers and the women in your lives. Of course, it's a Let's Be Real, and we are going to discuss deep issues. And usually, as usual, we have the biggest panel, Madam C, all the way from Real Housewives. Now she's in reality TV sometime.
Not only am I in a reality TV show, I'm actually talking real. This is Let's Be Real, and we are being real with Samantha Wines up there. I'm a wine maker and a taste maker. And be careful, you might fall in love with me.
Hey.
Those are my lines on the show, which I hope you're...
My goodness. Maria?
Okay.
I'm frozen for a minute. To be careful. Anyway, I am Maria Nyambane Waweru. I'm so happy to be here. I am an author. Love the original You and Marriage is a Scam. I also do a kids magazine, The Young Magazine. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And it's not Father's Day, Simon.
Oh, well, it's the week after Mother's Day. Finally, we appreciated our mothers, but I am Simon says, I'm a content creator. I make content that makes you smile and think at the same time, but most importantly, I keep it real with all the content that I make. And right now, we're going to start with keeping it real.
Yeah, of course. Topic. Did I tell you my name? You know my
name. CEO, that's his name. Exactly.
I forgot to introduce myself. I'm a housewife.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm a mother.
Tell us more.
I'm a mother. You know, every time I introduce myself, I always say I'm a winemaker. It's good for people to know my marital status. I'm married, one daughter, yeah, and I'm a taste maker and I'm a homemaker.
Hey, it's not a home wrecker.
Families.
So you're not a home wrecker.
Not a home wrecker.
Exactly, exactly.
Very important.
Why today have you decided to give us the
I'm
whole...
also curious.
You're curious?
Yeah.
Well, when people see me on Real Houses of Nairobi, I'm real. You see my husband, you see my family, and every time I'm introducing myself on this show, I think the viewers know me as a winemaker, but it's important to state that I'm married. To one husband.
Okay, let's start.
Laughing from the truth.
Interesting way she put it.
I would not, maybe in the past, and we'll just dig into the stories, but Moi Kibaki, our ex-president, also told us, I'm married to one wife. And their fingers were like this. But anyway.
My only fingers would be choose one.
Yes. So now we know you're married to one husband.
One husband. One husband.
But anyway, back to the stories. The first thing we had this week is that very many Sakaja, Salasia, and many other politicians are going deep into this content game. They have their own channels. But the most interesting bit, apart from Salasia, is even people like Kanyari, the bishop, the prophet, is also doing a lot of content. And lately I've seen the man Jirongo himself interviewing people.
Yeah. Yes, I've seen that too.
His channel is growing.
Yes.
Is it politics or politic?
One thing I would say about this is I think people are realizing, even politicians are realizing that indeed they can control their own narrative. And even they now establish a certain perspective of themselves that they want to show to the world. Is that ownership and even becoming even a content creator, it means that indeed this is my platform, this is my area in which I'm able to share with you the information that I want you to know. You see how, for example, Dr. C just right now told us that you may think that I'm only a winemaker, but I also can give you a perspective that indeed I'm also a wife with one husband. One husband, I mean. But even that aspect of things, but even also when they create this content, they may also want to show even their quote-unquote lifestyles and everything. Now, some Kenyans may take it the wrong way and start saying that what are you trying to show us and we're going through the hardships and everything. But in the truth, here's the thing. Kenyans love seeing people who are doing better than them. People who are doing affluently, people who are even doing, and hence politicians also even recognize this. So hence, we get a lot of political socialites. And that's what even happens when now you start now creating content that you want to show people this perspective of me. I want to show you that indeed I'm able to go to certain places like Dubai. I'm able to go to certain areas. I'm able to have conversations with this kind of people. This is the kind of person I am outside beyond the realms of politics. So you should view me in this high regard, because Kenyans, they know very well they want to admire people who actually even doing better than them, and hence politicians recognize this, so then they want to show you this aspect of them to control a narrative about them. That's literally what it is. Controlling a narrative about themselves by creating these pieces of content that they want to show you. And that's the truth.
Are we forgetting that they're making money from the clicks?
Not always, but yes, they are making
Yeah,
sense.
so that is the point. They have known that content creation is paying, and the other way for us to make money is through content creation. So what do? We start making content. Also, they know the kind of content Kenyans love, and that's what they are going to show them. But this is also a trick. In future, when we have all these viewers, when you have all these, bloggers will not be tarnishing our name, because we will be giving the story. Our story will come from us, ourselves, before they come to tarnish our names, because they know they have the platform. They know they can call anyone to air whatever they are doing, but they choose to have it on their own platforms, because they know that if we can have certain people that follow us deeply, we can have a lot of defense when in future we have something to say that we don't need others to take wrongly. It's also me hoping that when they start making content, they will now not focus on the common money that they focus on that is not good, like corruption, and because they have enough, even through content creation.
I think you're... Now, Lucy, what do you think?
What I think is that the way people need to look at social media now is, I like what you said about controlling your own narrative. Yeah. It's about owning your platform. And right now we are dealing with a lot of ills in the society, but it's because the mainstream media chose to show us one narrative. For example, when you look at Africa, African women are endowed. Mm-hmm. And now, for years, magazines, newspapers, TV, they were showing us one narrative of these slim girl, whatever, and women just were thinking that is the thing. So now, when you see social media coming up and all these well-endowed women are coming up, mm-hmm. It's just, and everyone is coming up, they're realizing, oh, you mean there are many of us? That is just an example of controlling the narrative. The other thing is we've seen a lot of politicians buying TV stations, buying newspapers, and therefore it has become very expensive. And they've realized media is completely divided and divided and divided. And talking about that, last week we talked about the wealth report, the one that was done by Knight Frank. The way I want our viewers to look at wealth is, especially in the area of real estate, there's the real estate that is the land, okay, and the homes and everything, but there's also real estate online. The future billionaires are actually going to come from, I've said it before, from logistics. They're going to come from real estate. It's always going to reign supreme. And they are going to come out of tech, which is online. So it's extremely important that that anybody who is going anywhere and looking at the future controls a certain pie on a certain level of real estate online. Yeah. Precisely, that's what it is. You can control your destiny. You can control your narrative. You can speak for yourself. It's very important. And it has to be taken seriously. The fact that politicians are doing it, and by the way, they're not doing it for the reja money of YouTube pays and whatever. If it pays, fine. Later, and the other thing is that I know you talked about the Kenyans liking to see how the rich people live. Yeah. I think it's going to enlighten. When we talked about the wealth report, there's about 7,000 individuals for a country that has 45 million people. You have 7,000 individuals who are worth $1 million plus. $1 million right now is about 140 million Kenya shillings. what I didn't quite understand, whether it involves your primary residence, because your primary residence is not an asset. And people are going to understand why we need to redistribute income. Yes. So, yeah, we want to see how the rich live, but later on, I think we'll talk about how Kenyans love to see the rich also crying. They love that. But anyway, give your opinions before we get there.
I think, first of all, when we elect people to parliament, and the core duty of being in an office, being paid by the taxpayers, is to deliver to the people. So as much as politicians have joined this bandwagon of creating content, I think it is totally wrong to say that you're going to control your narrative. If you want to get into content creation, first of all, deliver. There are three things which we say since 1965 we've talked about. And the characters we are saying are working on this, controlling their narratives, have not dealt with the people's poverty in the streets. They have not dealt with education. They are not giving us stories which are trying to elevate their electorate. The key issue why you are elected in parliament, or when you are going to do this kind of channels, it's supposed to be enlightening the people and to offer value. What I find totally absurd is that the people who are really, really working towards this social media and trying to create content are not delivering on their mandate. If, for example, you are the Nairobi city governor, and they're telling us, you're giving us a lot of content on yourself, yet you're not collecting the garbage in the streets, yet the streets are dirty, yet you are not paying your workers. So, the people you are following, who are following you, know for sure. And you're showing them a nice home. You're showing them your dogs, your what. They're just thinking this character is actually eating our money. And Kenyans are not stupid, by the way. The way people think that Kenyans will just follow you if you're a politician and you do your stuff and they admire you. They will be looking at and saying, oh, so our kids are not going to school, yet you are flaunting these things on your channel. Yet you are telling us, oh, this is what I'm doing, oh, I'm traveling to Dubai. Oh. So they're just saying behind their minds that this man is misusing our resources to travel, to buy land, to show us his many cows in a ranch. The core duty of a politician is, first of all, service delivery and creating laws to make people that things can work. But I found that because it's a new thing, people have gotten into that space. So they think you can control your narrative, yes, but people can read beyond the narratives you're trying to do.
But don't you think that's a good thing, that people can actually see that we are living lives like this and our politician is busy flossing, you know? Yeah. I think it's an amazing thing. And I don't think anybody will ever get elected in an office if you're really not on social media, really moving forward, because the generation that is coming to vote, that's their space. But I also want to say that when it comes to social media, I wouldn't, I love what you've said, but I would also like to add that it's a space where you can easily interact with your electorate. You can show them this is what we've done, because mainstream media is extremely expensive. And I'm on their platform. And, you know, I'll wait for some journalist somewhere to come and show me the borehole that I did. There's some, you know, Kenya has a lot of problems. And I don't think one elected office is going to finish all the problems we've had since 1965. I think so that if you're making a little progress, I've paid school fees for this batch. I have used the money you gave me, dug this borehole. I am doing this and doing that. I think there's an amazing space for politicians if they are going to use it in a good way. And a good example is, I wouldn't say that's a good way, it's just a good example, Donald Trump, the former president and the aspiring for the United States. He really had a huge media following. And what is his claim to fame? If you know, you know. What is his claim to fame? He actually started courting media. He was the original socialite. From those days, he would be seen with celebrities, with this kind of people, and really flossing his life. And finally, he got this apprentice show. He was in real estate. How do you glamorize real estate? Later on, he ran for office of the president because he has been interacting with people from all over the world, even in America. And he got elected, whether he was suitable or not. I'm not here to give a verdict on whether, I'm just saying, he got into the elected office. And I think everyone, including politicians, please get on social media, create content, tell us what you're doing.
Content, the real one.
Yes, the real content, what you're doing. And we shall see through you. If you're not delivering, we will see that you're not delivering.
That's key. Even what you said, that's key. Even just a point on this, because I create content, even for businesses, is that when you make your own narrative, you're able to enhance whatever the small thing that you do. Even, for example, I've seen even many MCAs do this. They go, they do something small, whether they've just put Maram on the road, they just show the before and then the after, what it is that with progress that they're doing. They hire 1 or 2 people to even post for them, saying that indeed, this is what we're actively doing. A good thing to even show that indeed, we're doing something, even if it's not the extent of what it is the public would desire. Showing that little something that you're doing, this is now advisory to even the politician. Showing that little something that you're doing can actually help you build momentum for even solidifying your presence in the future, for even that you may want to even be re-elected or so on and so forth. But it does not necessarily mean that you will when you're actually now showing the little and then people say, this is it. Now that can flip on you very, very, very fast.
You see, naturally, let me tell you how Kenyans view things. The American narrative is also very good, because either in the first world, their world is totally different, their problems and our problems are different. If you come to the setup where we are today, 90% of people who vie for office and people who vote, the youth will vote, but their vote is as a minimum. There are mainly people who vote are women, the mamambogas and the rest. Now, for these women, what they look for is service delivery. And not on social media, by the way. It's service delivery. I will tell you, when President Ruto was running, they were and that's why they came with this thing of bottoms up. Not because the other people, me and you and Dr. C here, who are tech savvy.
I vote, by the way.
But they know your numbers are very few. They know.
Yeah.
They know your numbers are very few.
You're not the majority.
You're not the majority.
Not
you do not decide a vote. The vote is decided by people who are makangas, who are in border borders, who are in the...
But see, him push back. I saw, during the past election, I saw people going, even during nominations, their whole election campaign go down the cycle just because of a campaign that was done online. Just because of a gossip that was wrong. I've seen it also done in the negative way, because negative also is more effective. Yes, you have to realize, if I want to tarnish your name, I can do it more effectively through social media, and it's spread through what? WhatsApp. And everybody has WhatsApp. And that is very effective.
Simon, I think you are very wrong when you say everybody has WhatsApp.
A lot of people.
Oh, a lot of people. And the future voters, in another 10 years.
No.
In another 10 years, even 5 years.
And I'm saying so because I have numbers of feature phones and...
Well, I'm saying majority.
No.
Actually,
you see, as we look at, I look at numbers.
The people who are in kibandas and all, the mamambogas and all that, not all of them are tech savvy.
Not everyone are tech savvy.
Not all of them are tech service. So it's more like they are the ones who are attending the campaign meetings to be told and promised more.
You see, how many people, listen, how many people have smartphones?
It's actually almost
the report. No. The report, Safaricom report.
Penetration is 80%.
No, that's a lie.
I think around 48% there.
It's 35%. You can read the Safaricom report.
Wow, that's so less.
I'm just wondering the way M-Pesa has done so well, controlling billions. and everybody has a phone in the hand.
That's a feature phone. As
not a
feature phone, you
smartphone.
can send M-Pesa.
But these
the
days,
message
how
call
many
and
people
M-Pesa.
are actually having, you go very far to find this Mukobo of Nokia. That, whatever,
Yeah.
everyone is on a smartphone.
Anyway,
and the thing is, talking
it's
about
35%.
future
But
politicians.
you know, Dr.
Look,
C, where you go-
elections are in 2027.
Where you go is not where, like, the people
It's
that
not
you
about
interact
Dr.
with.
C. Let me tell you, in the villages, the way I know, right now it's about who has brought that packet of unga and that packet of whatever, because you know what, when we vote for these people, they disappear. So I think it's an amazing thing that these people are getting online, they're showcasing us their lavish lives, their jets, their whatever, so that iwafikie au mama mboga iwafikie pesa zenyu mnaona venye zinatumika. I think it's amazing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyway, talking of the rich
Yes.
and online, I shall remind you, like these trends, the West sometimes sets the trends when it comes to wealth, and we follow through. There is the Kardashians. I think most people in Kenya,
They might
some of our viewers may know about them. They are completely a product of social media and TV,
Yeah.
but mainly social media. And out of that, they've created real wealth. So I'm saying to about social media, and I think this is a message to everyone, including business people, including young people. There's a space for you. You can create real wealth. It's a good space for Kenya to showcase what we are. We can bring in more tourists. We can show the caliber of leadership that we have, the caliber, like we can control the narrative of how Africa is, how Kenya is, so that we are not just being controlled by the mainstream media, you know, the international media. We can show people thriving, living the life. You understand?
Okay.
So we are not just starving and waiting for people to,
help us.
yeah, like we can really show the real other part. So that when we drop in the middle of New York, nobody thinks we are there to beg. We are there in our own right, and we just want to go back home. We are here to do what we want to do, and we have proper homes, you know. You know, Kenyans love to see the rich crying. And talking of the rich crying, but that's why we watch soap operas, right?
Yes, you do. I don't.
Soap operas is always about the rich crying, sometimes. Anyway, we're talking about inheritance. And last week, about 2 weeks ago, in the news, there was this lady who is actually charged in the court of law, criminal court of law, for forging a will, forging signatures and disinheriting with the intention of disinheriting the brothers and the sisters. And this was discovered. It's quite a popular company that you see everywhere. For legal reasons, I'll not mention, but go search for yourself. And so we are talking about wills and how can we protect ourselves in terms of we don't, like you, in case, but it's definite, one day you'll be demised. How can you protect yourself if wills can be contested in that way, if wills can be forged and changed? What is the best way?
You want to start with this? Go ahead.
The main reason why wills are there is so that someone can leave their wealth where they want to leave them. And there's a reason why someone will put someone out of the will. Like this daughter who decided to disinherit the others, maybe she was the black sheep of the family. There is a way that they are contested so easily nowadays, actually making people fear the will thing. But there is always a reason why someone will leave a will. If we could respect someone's last wishes, and if that is the case, if we are going to be contesting them, why don't you just name things as per the child, leave them knowing, you know what, this is yours when I leave, but then they can kill you. That's wrong. Actually, they can kill you.
Oh, there's an Indian billionaire. Did you see that?
They will kill you if you do that.
It's happening right now as we speak. Who changed everything into their son's name, and now the son has disinherited him, kicked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a live story happening right now as we speak.
Humanity is kind of getting lost in the process, even with family. humanity is getting lost. Because if you know that my father left this will, it was read, and there's a reason why you were left out. You already know the reason why you were left out. Why would you go an extra mile of contesting it or even fighting with any means you can to get everything, knowing very well that you are not supposed to get that? So humanity is getting lost in the process, even as wealth is involved. But then again, money can make people do anything they want to do.
That's true. Even let me even add on. You know, this story has made me realize that indeed some of your biggest enemies can be your own family. And it just, if you've not realized that, you've not been put in the right context in which you have something worth fighting for. Sometimes you can also be too broke even to have nothing to fight for, so hence even you guys are all peaceful and kumbaya together. But when now some family members will show you their true colors, when now it comes to matter of maybe even pieces of land, and even I'll even point this out, in a lot of Central Kenya and a lot of these law firms that are set up, the biggest issues that people have and the biggest business that a lot of lawyers have is actually succession of land. And that is now fought between who? Family members. So, and this is literally a thirst for what? Fighting against poverty. And they'll fight against poverty and you will be the biggest enemy. And they will use any means necessary to actually get the edge over you. So literally now what happens is the desire is, I don't even think, is it the desire for more or the fear of poverty? Drives some people to go to an extent of now walking and even stepping over you. That family member may even have more than you. And they even may have even enough. But they will scram for that little speck of salt that you guys now, piece of land, that will, to just change it for their own benefit because literally of their desire for more. And they forget that indeed you guys are family. Hence now even comes to the principle of, have we Africans lost even the essence of a community and a family to the extent that even people are making a business out of our own squabbles within our own community, and it's not one law firm, it's many, and it's all across even Central region. I'll even speak for myself. That is actually a real thing. Someone completes law school, graduates from even law. What they do the first, why I don't need to fight for clients here in Nairobi. Let me go where? Rural Kenya, because I know very well where am I going to get clientele from? People squabbling over land. And that is a real issue qua ground. Even that ties in with the will issue. That is something that's really happening even right now because of the lack of recognition of one thing is that scarcity mindset that we have a lot is that if you get, I lack. Not if you get, there's a way we can build off this and actually now get more for us. That scarcity mindset is what leads to a lot of families losing. And now what ends up is the lawyer gets a lot more than any one of you.
But also there's parenting issue, whereby you've taught your kids that I worked hard for you. You have money later. Normalize telling your children to search their own money. But that's I go first and you go first. I go. So listen, yeah. The thing, this is not about scarcity. It's not about mentality. This is about from biblical. Who was that who stole the other's blessing? Esau?
Jacob.
Jacob, yeah.
Jacob. What was the story again?
Jacob stole Esau's blessing because Esau was the firstborn.
Yes. And from whose line did Jesus Christ come from? From whose line did David come from?
I have no idea.
From Jacob.
Jacob. The real blessing was supposed to be Esau's blessing. So we are, as humanity, I think so that from time immemorial, is that this thing has been there. It's about being smart. It's about your progeny. It's about like you do what you need to do. Talking of what you need to do, I think so that now we know that people will contest wills. People will do whatever they need to do. It's survival of the fittest. You need to put your things in order. I think that is very well known. I think you need to consult a good lawyer And from the little information that I know, I'm not a lawyer, so this is not like legal advice, but I would like to advise our viewers is that there's certain ways, certain vehicles, certain arrangements you can have such that no one can touch your property. Number one, if you want your children to inherit, why don't you change those things when you're alive with perhaps a disclaimer, because once it has changed, I know someone who has many children, and what they've done is already transferred the land, divided the land, transferred the land to the children. Everybody has their title. So all these women are surrounding him. If they think they're going to come and take his children's property, they will not. Already they've done that. So there's a way you can arrange. There are trusts that you can do. If you get a really good lawyer, they can do a good trust for you. But even then, move with caution. We have still a very small economy where you find there are trust fund babies. There's these, it's the Rothschild family, Grosvenors, the Rothschilds. They've maintained the generational wealth for a very, very long time, for many years, almost going into almost 500 years. They've maintained because they put in place a really good trust. And we are just beginning. There are good lawyers now who are trying to work in that area of trusts. We have learned there's a very popular family. I think it's been all over in the news, the Njenga Karume family, where they were, and I think they sorted out. There are other families also that have had wills, and we are learning, not wills, trusts, that we are learning and moving. The thing about wills, yes, it can be respected, but where somebody thinks that, maybe this was not fair and it wasn't fair, they go to the court, and the court will have to rule what was fair, what was not fair. We've seen even with the former president's family, people trying to contest. Both the last two late presidents, we've seen the families actually trying to contest that. Now, everybody knows your will may be contested. How are you arranging your things? What vehicle are you using? I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just saying that that's criminal. Trying to there's forging a will, there's contesting a will. Contesting is what civil people do. You go to court for the court's interpretation. I was a dependent. I was the other wife. I was forgotten. I was this, whatever happened. There is the criminal act of actually going to change a will, forging signatures. That's criminal. Those people, if found guilty, they belong behind bars.
I get you, Dr. C. I understand. You've said very nice things. Here's the things.
Clever thing.
Yeah, it's okay.
Not
Here's the thing. Before CEO speaks, I just want to say this quick one thing. Even with all the documentation that you may have, you have to remember one thing. This has to be implemented by people. And this has to be now come from a person who's now the matriarch, who's the head of this, now to guide the family. What fails most people is the lack of tradition and oneness. What those families that you've just mentioned is that they have a direction. We have a way in which if you have these characteristics, or if you have this, you incorporate with the family to have this thing. Because what happens is, even if you can have all the documentation, what happens is one kid does not even want anything to do, then people start fighting. What you have to remember is that the main thing is have a tradition in which your family knows this is a oneness in which we're going to keep our wealth, and this is a mentality we have as a family, and everybody has bought into it, and everybody implements on it. Hence, even documentation just comes as a by the way, but people know. CEO has told his son that this way it's going to be, and the son understands the way. The son now passes on that information, and it's now gone. That's how wealth is kept.
That's an ideal world.
That's actually what happens.
That's an ideal world.
It's an ideal world.
That's what happens.
Because it doesn't exist. There's enough Jacobs in this world. Like it doesn't. It's an ideal world. Now that we know
greed and humanity is too much.
Like every day we see these things happening. Like I just said earlier on, there's an Indian billionaire who's just been thrown out by the sun. Yeah. Now we know humanity is humanity. We may think we are different, but we are not different. So that is why legally there is a way you can have independent people who can There are trusts that have been created that actually really are working. Now, that's why I said even Kenyan lawyers are trying to figure, we are learning every day. And anyway, people are not going to fight after your wealth if you've got nothing.
Yeah.
If you've made something that you think is valuable, why don't you try and give direction, yeah? Try and give direction and know that people may actually want to contest for your, whatever it is in the wardrobe. What do I call, we call them
the
knickers.
CEO.
People may want to contest for them, yeah?
I think that the problem is huge, and what we need to do is that the people who own the property currently must devise a way of making even the people who are still dependents to contribute towards. You see, the way Indians, most of them do, they try to inculcate their children into the ability of doing that business. If it's a business, he invests to a certain level, then the kid also invests with him. Now, this part ownership. The problem we have with our lands today in African setup is because, you know, your father bought every piece of land. You do not know the pain of buying that land whatsoever. You just want to inherit it. Now, and that's what has happened in Ruaka. All those parents who own those lands in that area, their kids have sold that land, and that's why you see so many flats. There's a story in Ruaka that there's one Mkokoteni pusher whose father was the richest guy, so he sold each and everything. For you to have this, to control the problem, because succession will always be a problem. Whatsoever, you write a will or you don't write a will, or there's always be one son or two daughters who will always think that they have been unfairly treated. And they will either contest, or they will be the Jacob, they'll try and get the more than the others. So if you decide, if you're growing, as the kids are growing and they are making money, try in a way to involve them. And there's a politician I know from Nyanza. What he did, he called all his sons and daughters and told them, guys, this is my property. Prepared an A4 paper with the property, the title, land, and the amount. And told them, now you've come men and women of age. And I know if I die today, with even this, I have this will, you'll still fight. Now I'm offering you the first chance to buy this property.
Wow.
I'm offering you the first chance.
They buy it now.
You buy it from me. And he gave everyone an A4 size with the list and the amounts. After a month, he told them, you come back with what you would like to buy. Go get money, buy. Because the problem is, Africans they fight over not the whole thing. There's always one thing. If it's a house, all of them want that house. So the people with more money came and said to me, they ticked what they would buy. And they told them, okay, put your money in the bank. In my account, the money was put in the bank. Everyone was given his title. And he told them, now, since everyone has bought his property from me, I know you will not sell it.
It's yours.
It's yours.
They know the pain.
But now, since I will not need this money you've given me, and money is easy to divide amongst yourselves, you will now divide the money which you have given me equally.
Makes sense.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Our viewers watching this so that they can implement it. They need
So
to.
the guy,
This is a true story, right?
I'm telling you, yes.
That makes sense.
That's a tip.
So now the guy is still alive, but everyone has his own property. They bought, and they know in case their father passes on, the money in the bank, even if it's 100 million and there are 10 kids, everyone will get his 10 million.
That right there is spoken like real wisdom. And we need to pause on that real note. We're going to come right back in a few on Let's Be Real.
A good discussion on wills, people who are conning each other over money and property, succession. Maria, what do you have to bring us back with?
Well, now we have another one that is very conflicting, actually, if I may say. A judge freed a man who had defiled a 15-year-old girl because the 15-year-old girl looked like an adult. Now, the question would be, where is our society going if something like this can be let to pass? That is the question. But I will let Simon tell us, what do you think about that?
That is shocking, because even when it comes to it, one thing I would say is, first things first, there are a lot of men out here, especially during the Form 4 period, when they now clear the Form 4, there's like a weird period where you do, there's a lot of youngsters walking around, especially the December times and everything. And hence, even men who are driven by their urges are the ones who are susceptible to getting such lawsuits, first of all. For me, even I just want to address it on the aspect of the guys who are susceptible to certain things like this are men who don't have their own self-control in some extent. In the sense that you don't have the bandwidth to even have a conversation with this individual to even recognize that they're not even on the same wavelength as you, first of all. That I recognize in the sense that, yes, the judge has dismissed it, but I look at this guy and saying that, what kind of intelligence do you have to even lie with this person, and then because you've seen that indeed they're valid enough to sleep with you, because you've not even had a conversation with them in a way? Because what is a 15-year-old having with someone who's even like, he's like way over in his 30s or something like that? You're having a conversation with a 15-year-old and you've seen it valid that indeed it's good for you to engage now sexually with this individual. So any man who is way older and then engaging with someone who is ultra way younger and then beneath the under age of 18, if you engage with them sexually, that says a lot about your mental bandwidth. Because indeed, you have said that this person is mentally now capable with me and I can actually now engage sexually with them. And to the extent that now, because even you can be able to see a lady's age based on even how they engage, even with them mentally. Even to the extent even some older ladies who even mentally are not even capable to even have a good conversation with you, and yet you're an older person, especially someone was in his 30s or something like that. He was in his 30s. So yeah, someone in your 30s, especially a man in his 30s, you should be able to decipher someone who is mentally at 15. You should actually be able to do that, and mentally, not physically, I said mentally. Just because a girl, and you should be able to do that by exchanging conversations where you're able to see someone's life experiences. So even if this was quote unquote rendered legal for him, he had gotten away with it because the girl looked like she was above 18. I should throw it on the man. It's like, what kind of a grown man are you to now get fooled by a 15-year-old? How fickle can you be? That is literally what I would say, is that you need to have different qualifiers as a man to who you're sleeping with more than what or how that girl looks like. That's what I would say.
I think so that this guy is, from the face of it, I think he's a criminal. He belongs behind bars, and that case should be appealed. Maybe they'll get somewhere. I don't know what the other mitigating factors were, because I'm just wondering if there's a judge or a magistrate in their right minds who would actually give such a ruling. I'm sure there's a space for appeal because it's criminal. And I think so that, like you've just said, you can decipher. And I think men should start asking for IDs and not just following. The law is the law, not just following that, oh, the girl looks big, so you can just engage, because there's a law. And the men need to know this. The men need to know that, ask for the ID. That's why clubs are asking for IDs. That's why even if you go to a place where they sell alcohol, if it is 18 prohibited, that's why even programs on TV, If it is below, you cannot watch them below age. There's an age restriction they put. Everybody has to put a disclaimer. So this is a criminal. He's at large. He has to be taken back in.
But Dr. C, I want to say this. That whole 18 and above, even pornography has 18 and above. But the biggest young boys who watch it are teenagers. Actually, even I would say the 18 and above or the 21 and above is more of an advertisement to even younger people who would say, what is this thing that you're restricting?
Because they are just curious. They are just curious. But if you have a son and you have a daughter, number one, you need to teach them what is right or wrong and what is when they're being taken advantage of. And then you have a son. There's a lot of things that young people, especially young men, could be predisposed to, from substance abuse, to the fact that you're there with a girl whom there's mutual consent. It could be mutual consent. And because there's statistics, Kenya Bureau population survey, they say that girls at 10, they're already sexually active. You see, there is that. They are doing it, they're being cheeky and doing it, not necessarily being molested. They are actually doing it, active, maybe with their peers or in whichever circumstance there is. Okay? So the young men need to know that the law is not for them.
Yeah.
The law is not for them. Even if it is mutual consent, yeah, it's against the law. They should not just go and we call it molesting a 16-year-old. Yeah. And there's so many cases against young men who have their age mates, yes, but the girl can say it wasn't mutual consent.
So, CEO?
Let me go before CEO.
No, sorry, and that's why it's called the age of consent. It's 18. There are people who are looking at pushing it to 21, but the age of consent is 18.
Let me say this. The ID idea actually is perfect. Men should start asking for ID.
Is that practical?
I'm gonna and take a copy of it.
Is that practical?
It's very.
It has to be.
It has to be practical.
What would you rather?
So many years in prison or just get the idea and
continue the
finish?
point. I don't want to touch the point. Continue the point. But
So this is the point. Let me go to parenting first. I always dive into parenting so much because I have seen so many of parents. Your child is 11, 12. They are on full face beat makeup, and they are dressed like adults. Like literally, the way you are dressing that child, I'm dressing you to be admired.
Handicaps are showing.
Yeah. Remember, I always say that molestation is the one crime that is unforgivable. But let's be realistic. Even I, a woman, an adult woman right now, would I be comfortable walking in the streets at night without like I'm alone walking in the streets at night? I know maybe I'll think I'm safe, I'll say I'm safe, but mentally, women have this notion of, there's just a level of security we don't have that men have. So for a child to be this dressed, going out, most of those time, there is mutual consent. But if you're caught and your mom is lashing out on you, you'll be like, I was forced to save face. But when you're saving face, you're putting a certain guy in jail. So let's start with the parenting whereby you should know how is your child looking, dressing, and acting out there. As a girl, you should know what you're presenting out there in the name of a daughter, because you don't know who is watching out there, who is targeting out there, because at the end of the day, it's a mental torment for anyone to be molested. It's not something they recover from. Because these men, let's say they are careless men out here who do not know how to differentiate A from B, can you first as a parent protect your daughter? Because I know, even you as a mother, you don't walk freely, willy-nilly out on these streets because we are always scared something might. As women, there is always that sixth sense of, am I safe enough? Now imagine a 15-year-old who is looking like an adult. I don't know how the 15-year-old look like, but if that is the way the guy won the case, maybe the judge saw something to have that happen. And for you men out there, it's not going to be hard for you to understand that, yeah, maybe they were dressed like an adult, maybe they look like adults, but don't be fooled. There are people out here who don't care about how their daughters get out of the house. There are people out here who are not even keen on, I am young, I should first wait. Just be safe as a man and ask for an ID. First of all, ask for, and make sure the face of the ID is the face of that person.
And take a photo.
Take a photo. And
but
sure
I
you
want
have
to challenge
evidence.
you. I want no wait. I want to challenge her on something. Honestly, an average 15 or even 16-year-old now really looks like a very well-endowed woman.
Very true.
But she's 16, she's 15, and her mind is a child's mind. We are not going to tell our girls now to wear socks when they are going on the whatever. They are fashionable. They are following the latest fashion trends. They're even experimenting with makeup. So we are not telling our girls to sit there and not to. We are just saying people need to take responsibility. Teach your boys, yeah,
and teach your girls.
Teach your girls. But even if somebody looks like they have, I don't know what kind of a body, please know that it doesn't mean now you're going to give them alcohol, you're going to give them all these things, do all these things that are illegal. You understand? We need to protect their minds, the young minds. They are called young. The minds are young. They are not able to make a consent.
But they are making a consent and then blaming men.
CEO has not spoken. Go ahead, CEO. Talk.
First of all, I think you guys have spoken very many interesting things, and those are the statutory things. How the law is, how the law is supposed to be followed, and what is in the Children's Act. That's what the Children's Act is all about. Now, when I'm following this case was somewhere in Garissa, isn't it? This, in Garissa, we are talking about the pastoralists. And our law, and I've always said this before, our law should always go to the regions to educate the people in those areas to understand. Because, remember, in very many African communities, in their traditional setup, these girls are married at 14. Remember that. If you go deep into Garissa, and why this judge might have this opinion or magistrate, because there was a precedent before in a court in Malindi. In Malindi, Justice Chitembwe, then the magistrate of Malindi, almost 7 years ago.
Isn't that the guy who had some legal problems?
Yes. What happened?
So his word doesn't stand, actually.
I'm just giving.
But I think viewers need to know.
I'm giving the legal precedent. So there was a boy and a girl, underage. Both of them were engaging in a relationship. And the father of the girl decided to take this boy to court because the girl was underage. The boy was also underage. It went to court severally, but the girl would still go back to the boy. So the ruling was the girl was behaving also as an adult. Fast forward to this case, I think, and judges use a lot of precedent. And in these areas where I'm saying there's a lot of pastoralism in Maasai land, in Somali areas, in northern Kenya, where girls at 18, in fact, if you're 18, they don't even marry a girl over 25. So we need to agree and understand that the law, the Children's Act, the way it is done, it was done with us people who are in the cities who really understand this, and we know, and we didn't educate our pastoralists to tell them that these kids are still young. Because you'll see, and this is not the first one, you'll see even people who are taking their girls who are 15 and giving them to older men for marriage in those areas. It happens, it will happen, it has persistently happened that at 15, kids are taken to be married. And the father is the one who is saying, ametosha.
But isn't that what human rights are fighting against? That child marriage? I don't think we are about to change our constitution or our laws to allow children at age 12, 13, 14 to engage in sexual activities.
What we are saying is that we need to go to those areas to educate the population. Otherwise, these cases will persistently come up.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
But ignorance is not defense, right? I get you, but I think our viewers need to know that ignorance is not defense.
Even just to add on, you see, based on even the law, I think it's more responsibility on the man to make sure that indeed he knows how to even mentally recognize that indeed this individual is underage, even no matter what, how they may appear. Because if you are a man and you're only driven by physical attributes, you are prone to being the person who get a lot of litigations, get a lot of issues with the law, because one thing or another, these young girls know how to dress up, and these young girls are proactive, and they want to experiment, they want to implement, they want to sexually explore. And hence, you could actually be the victim because you did not have the mental well-being to even recognize that indeed, this is a child that cannot even have a coherent conversation with me. That's just me being real.
But you know, there are others who are dating, like literally, the mother knows that the girl has a boyfriend, but when things blow up, now I'm suing you for that. Oh, yeah. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
There's so much illegalities in these cases.
The people even who set up.
There are people.
But we are not even contesting the law. I think the law as is okay. People need to educate themselves, intention or no intentions.
And
people just need to know having this kind of sexual activity with underage. And I know there are women also so it's not just men, by the way. There are women who are also molesting young boys. You know, the boy child is also being molested. But there's also the girl child who's being molested. People need to educate themselves. Ignorance is not, and that's, I think on this panel, we are really doing a good job of educating people. Don't wait for your local MP to come and tell you that is wrong. Educate yourself if you're listening and watching.
Just carry an ID like you're going to do an
I think the truth is that we have very many laws which are very good, but they have not done what is called taking it to the people to understand them. Our Children's Act was well done by Njoki Ndung'u in Parliament. It's fantastic, it's robust, but it was never taken to areas where the problems are prone. So those guys still live the way they have traditionally lived. But anyway.
But some things, in conclusion, some things may take time for people to know, unless we are saying we need now money in the budget for people to go and to be educated about the, you know, like elections.
Budget
the things that are in the budget is not there because first of all, we need to deal with flood victims. Yeah, so I think some things may take time, and that's why people need to arm themselves with a smartphone and do some basic research.
They don't even have local TVs in most of those places.
But it's not a defense. The law is the law, and it's going to be applied uniformly to everybody. And that's a criminal offense, and criminals belong behind the bars.
That's keeping it real.
That's keeping it real.
We'll see you guys next week.